Top 12 performers from the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Jeremiah to the left, Rich Eisen to the right, the face of the franchise, right effing here. All right, let's go ahead and listen. So Daniel Jeremiah is going to list his top 12 performers from the Combine. We have seen a ton of risers and fallers since the Combine concluded. So let's see who he thought helped themselves the most by doing a couple of sprints in boxer briefs.
What's your impressions of the Combine?
Well, look, we can go through some guys and some groups that really stood out to me, and I'll start with what we saw today with Armand Membo from Missouri. Who
Let's do it.
I love it when guys have opportunities to compete. He's in the mix to be the top overall offensive lineman. He shows up here at over 330 pounds in a very loud, fast 40 at 4.91, accompanied with a phenomenal field workout. So he entered into this process as my 18th overall.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, a week ago or so, we talked about how you kind of measure prospects' performance with offensive linemen. Most of the time, the biggest indicator for NFL success is agility. So if you see an offensive lineman who really, really performs well in the field drills, something to pay attention to.
Player, he's going to be going north, not south. He's someone at that size to be able to move around like he does. The question was guard, tackle. He's going to be a tackle, and he's going to be a very high pick when we get to that draft in Green Bay. Continue to look at him go through the rest of his drills here as we go through some other guys that stood out throughout the week.
Jahad Campbell, so I watched his entire workout. Stud. Really, really, really good player. I would have his name circled on my draft sheet.
Campbell from Alabama. Stacy was talking about him just a little bit ago. I think he's the best off-the-ball linebacker in this class with the ability, if you want him to rush off the edge. That's what he was in high school. That's what he arrived at Alabama. Everything he did, look how quick his feet are.
Damn, look at those feet. I mean, that's some straight up, man. I mean, that's some Michael Jackson footwork right there.
How athletic he is, how explosive he is. Look at someone like Edgerrin Cooper, the impact he had right away last year with the Green Bay Packers. I think what we saw this week from Jahad Campbell was just as impressive, and he's going to be ready to come right out the gates and have an impact at the next level.
Some great drills here, and
look at
of
that,
course,
he's in 47 places
bells and whistles that our stupendous production team here at the Combine have. Just checking on Jahad Campbell.
Yeah.
With the,
I mean, he's so fluid. Like, you can tell, like, the way he moves is just insane.
With the tracer on him as well, gives you a little smiley face there.
So Matthew Golden, Ted McMillan has been the number one receiver. Golden boosted his stock certainly to where I think now he is consensus. If not now, he will be by the time the draft happens. Consensus number 2. But he had a hell of a workout as well.
A couple Texas guys that really popped. We had Coach Sark with us up here in the booth, and he said it's speed is something they're after at Texas. That was on full display. Matthew Golden, I think, is one of the best receivers in this class. He's a lock to be a first-round pick. He goes out and rips off a 4.30. And then Barron, who I have as the top corner in this class as a nickel, but showed with this speed, if you want him to stay outside, I think that can be a
really shows you how good Texas was last year, like how stacked that roster was. Crazy they didn't get more out of it, but, you know.
Ranged at 4.4 flat, plenty fast enough. So a couple Longhorns absolutely flying. And then
might be your biggest name riser is Omarion Hampton. So he works out. Ashton Genty does not work out. Hampton blew everyone away with the workout. And the conversation now is he a legitimate threat to being the first running back taken off the board?
The position as a whole that stood out, we talked about it what feels like a month ago, but these running backs, Omarion Hampton, amongst others with the Ohio State backs, Henderson, Judkins as well. It's a deep group. The vast majority of them worked out, and they were very impressive, Rich.
Trevor Etienne,
Here we go.
Travis's bro.
Yeah, he's definitely
got it done.
Ran even a little bit.
So obviously I watched a ton of college football, and every single time I watched Quinshon Judkins, I was impressed. Every single time I was like, damn, this guy is a man amongst boys, and he's playing at the highest level, playing on a national championship team. I would also have him circled very highly. If you thought, look, I'm not taking Hampton or Genty top 10, I'm not taking a running back that high, I would circle Judkins and take my chances with him in the second or third round.
Faster than everyone expected. Wasn't totally healthy this year, but showed what he can do when he's out there. Your Michigan Wolverine, Donovan Edwards, did not have the year that he wanted, but a monster 23, and this was a nice way to kind of,
I mean, that's his forte right there.
The athleticism and being able to kind of get through the final part of this process well. That's a big deal.
Now, this was kind of the conversation a few years ago, where the conversation was, and this is like around the Todd Gurley, end of Todd Gurley kind of conversation, was don't pay the running back. Draft a running back. And then when that running back, when his rookie contract is up, draft another one. So when I see a handful, 6, 7 running backs that are impressing in the draft, this is what I would look at doing if I was a team. I would say, look, I mean, if I believe that my running backs are towards the end of their career, or we don't have one, or we have one we don't want to pay, draft a running back. And even teams that have good running backs right now, you know, or running backs that hold value, like Joe Mixon, great running back for sure. But it's like, well, will he be the same running back in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year? I don't know. So let's draft a guy. Boom. Let's just fill the roster. Just if we need one, take one. You know, if we want one, take one. If there's one available, take it. And the Saints, I think, are in that boat too. Alvin Kamara's the man. Alvin Kamara's awesome. He's the starting running back. But if you're going Alvin Kamara and then all of a sudden your backup is Judkins, and Judkins can maybe take over if he really proves he can play at that level, I'd much rather that than trying to develop Kendra Miller, Jordan Mims, who the hell ever else. So the fact that there's this many running backs, I think a lot of teams could be in the market.
Caleb Johnson here from Iowa. Ran in the 4.5s, didn't blow you away with the 40, but caught the ball well, had a good overall field workout. I think he's 45 to 60 is when he ends up coming off the board. But plenty of running backs to choose from in this class.
Turned out to be the fastest running back group we've ever seen since, 2003. That's when we first came here. That's why we always have that as a line of demarcation. Fastest.
Yeah, remember, a lot of these numbers don't go that far back. Like a lot of measurements and things like that, they only go back to like 2010. He's talking about 2003 was the first year that they were there. So, you know, the draft and the combine and how it's measured and all that does not go back as far as you would think.
It's running back group since 2003 and led by 5 big dudes today who ran sub-5 40s. The offensive line group for the second straight year had 5 different guys run sub-5 40s. But those guys helped lead to deliver an average time of.
Yeah, I know Will Campbell ran under a 5. I know Kelvin Banks ran under a 5. Mimbu, we talked about earlier, ran under a 5. When you see, 6'7", 6'6", 340-pound guys running a 4.9, that's just, I mean, it's hard to even fathom. Honestly.
5 point.
I would rather get hit with my Honda Accord. I would rather get hit with a car than one of these linemen running full speed.
1.3 on the 40-yard dash. It's the fastest offensive line group that we've ever seen here at the Combine. So bigger, stronger, faster. It does appear to be that case every single year. The quarterback group that we did see out there spin it and work out. Your impression of that, Daniel?
Yeah, we didn't see the top 2 guys there with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders go through the.
Yep, both agreed, or both decided not to throw. They'll throw at their pro day. So if you're interested in Sanders or Ward, you may want to check out their pro day. It seems like Sanders needs to start proving something. I'm seeing him fall off a lot of boards. PFF, they just released, Trevor Sikkema just released his mock draft. Doesn't even have Sanders in the first round. Okay, so he's sliding to the point now where I would, if I'm him, I would start throwing, and I start doing something.
The workout, that's something that's really been kind of commonplace over the last decade. But we did see some other guys really compete and show some promise and some upside of what they can be at the next level. I thought Jackson.
Yeah, so we have some interesting quarterbacks, very similar to the running back room where Kyle McCord, Jackson Dart, Will Howard, Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, like those guys are all in that 3rd, 4th, 5th round. They'll fall somewhere in there. Where they'll go, who knows? But for teams that have an empty spot on their depth chart for a young quarterback, like the Saints, because Jake Haener is not it, picking up Kyle McCord, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, whoever, late in the draft, throw a dart at the wall, no pun intended, and see if you can find something. See if you can get a franchise guy. This would be a good year to do that too. You end up with, Jackson Dart and Judkins in the 4th and 5th round. Could have something there.
Dart had as good a workout, as good a throwing workout as there was in the entire group out of Ole Miss. He's my 3rd quarterback. I believe he's my 42nd overall.
What I'm looking for in quarterbacks, I'm not so much concerned about the arm angle and the slot where they're throwing from. That can all get corrected. What I'm looking for is pop out of the hand. What I'm looking for is how that ball comes out. I don't want to see anything floating. I don't want to see anything wobbling. I don't want to see anything dying in the air. Right now, all to me is do you have the arm talent to make the throws?
Player, but in that mix, early 2nd round, and I thought the relaxed way that he conducted himself, so I'm just chewing on some gum and letting it rip with some beautiful deep balls, which he was very accustomed to throwing there with Lane Kiffin and that Ole Miss offense as our Hall of Famer Kurt Warner was looking on.
All right, Ewers is a good example where watching him at Texas, I thought when he was thrown to the sidelines, his balls died a little bit, fluttered a little bit. So seeing how that zip that comes out of his hand, let's see.
Quinn Ewers, had the oblique injury. Coach Sark was talking about that. Wasn't totally healthy, just tried to fight through it coming down the stretch.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like right there, I got to see some pop. I got to see some zip. This thing right here, I'm not comfortable asking him to make this throw.
Totally healthy, just tried to fight through it coming down the stretch.
I mean, that honestly looks like me. 3-on-3 intramurals at Southern Mississippi.
For Texas, I thought he spun the ball pretty well, had a really solid workout, real clean footwork. I know Kurt was a big fan of what he saw with Quinn Ewers. Will Howard, the McAfee quarterback choice.
Yes.
Had a nice day. First of all, he's big. You can see it with his presence. The ball he was able to deliver.
Now, I will say this too, because we covered Will Howard's day, which some are saying was the worst workout in combine history for a quarterback. There's a conversation of like, how much do you weight this, right? Like, how much do you care about what you're seeing here? How much do you care about this versus the seasons or season of tape that you have of them playing in actual games? How much do you care about what he can do in this cutesy, very demure, this little romper that they got going on here? Like, that's the question. Howard, horrific workout in the combine, horrible, but do you care?
Deliver a couple really nice out routes. Deep ball is a little bit up and down, a little bit inconsistent, but with him, you just really want to see the ball, how it came out of his hands, and threw it well. Is in the mix. Have an opportunity there on day number 2 to hear his name called once we get to the draft. Here he is, big number 7, who is eliciting a lot of cheers and a lot of response from a very pro-Ohio State crowd here.
Well, I know he was also getting cheered because he threw so many incompletions. Whenever he did complete a pass, the crowd did start to cheer.
In Indianapolis.
And so a fun day with the quarterbacks. Let's have a little bit of interesting conversation here. Okay. Not even the truck knows where I'm going to go with this.
Oh, okay.
So give me the name of the guy that could be a late first rounder, whether it's somebody who's on the clock or somebody trades in. Because you take a look at Eagles, Chiefs. I'm going from the back end up. Mm-hmm. Eagles, Chiefs, Bills, Commanders, Lions, Ravens. Those teams could be trade partners, right? Mm-hmm. For somebody who wants to trade back in. Who's that guy?
I would say 2 names that came up more than any other this entire week. And Dart, who I thought had the best.
Remember, this matters. What they hear walking around Starbucks, what they hear in the elevator, what they hear networking, the rumors, the scuttlebutt, as some say. You know what I'm saying? Remember back in the day, you could play pool with a lovely lady from Slidell at Scuttlebutts and have the worst night of your life. That's a different video for a different day, ladies and gentlemen.
Best workout. And then Tyler Shuck, who's a little older, but who has a big arm and some teams feel like is ready to play.
He's
now,
a baller. He's an absolute baller.
5, but they feel like you don't have to waste any time. If you don't have someone and this, musical chairs takes place and you're left without a quarterback, there's a feeling among some that I've talked to this week, we can plug him in and we can go.
Then let's kick.
Here's the question that's not being asked that won't have an answer that I'm asking right now rhetorically. Will Jackson Dart go ahead of Shedeur Sanders? We just heard Daniel Jeremiah say Jackson Dart might be a first-round pick. Someone might trade back into the first round to get Dart. We've also heard simultaneously that Shedeur Sanders might fall out of the first round. Do those happen at the same time? Would be wild.
pick it up a notch. You see the Rams at 26. What do you think? Can they go ahead and use a first-round pick to get that guy, even though they nailed Stafford?
Interesting. You get Stafford back. You don't have the quarterback of the future. Does Sean McVay say Quinn Ewers? Does Sean McVay say Jackson Dart? Does he say Shedeur Sanders at 26? Let Sanders sit for a year or 2 years behind Stafford. See if McVay can develop him. That's kind of a gnarly idea.
Stafford down for who knows how long right now. We don't know how long that contract is.
Yeah, they just feel to me more like an all-in mode right now.
That's true. The Stafford deal does say they're trying to win. Like Washington. Washington has Jaden Daniels, so it's a little different. But Washington, with the Deebo Samuel trade, they're telling you we're all in. So, the Rams said we're all in. So the Rams may be a team that says, no, let's just get an absolute stud at 26. They are kind of a piece away, honestly. Like they're, maybe they get a replacement for Cooper Kupp. Maybe they get, any offensive line help too. So their defensive line was fantastic last year off the edge. Do they get secondary help? Who knows? But the Rams are an interesting team because they could go all in, draft a playmaker, draft somebody to be their, the Jared Verse of this year where they come in, immediately make an impact, or they could draft the replacement for Matthew Stafford because they came so close seemingly to having to play without Matthew Stafford this year.
They want somebody to help Stafford, not replace him.
All right, so then let's keep going up. What about Steelers at 21?
The Steelers, to me, they are very much in the quarterback market. I just don't know the way the board falls. I don't think they're going to take one at that point in time.
All right.
Yeah, 21 is interesting. Now, you could trade back. I hate talking about trading back because, it takes two to tango. But if Pittsburgh could trade back late first round, 30, 31, 32, take Jackson Dart there, get some draft capital, is that something you do?
Right. Then where would the trade spot be?
I think you're starting
27 on down, 26 on down.
I know one thing: the guy at 32, his phone works really well. So
Howie Roseman, Philadelphia.
I don't know. People are probably shy of wanting to talk to Howie these days.
I love it, man. I love it. We haven't had games on since the Super Bowl. We've been popping off more than ever. The draft is hot and heavy. I'm the best in the world. All right. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.